Hi everyone, I'm so sorry that I can't be with you today. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through my presentation, which I've called Standards Committees, You Can Make a Difference. This is me, I'm Susan Mander and I'm a lecturer in lighting at Massey University. I cover all sorts of topics, including the physics of light and optics, lighting design practice, the effects of light pollution on the environment, basically anything and everything to do with light. I teach 4 courses that specifically cover lighting, and I also teach a little bit about electricity and lighting to construction students. I also look after Massey's Lighting Laboratory, which is used for teaching, research, and commercial contracts. Before I joined Massey in 2010, I worked as a consulting electrical engineer. So I've used standards for well over 20 years, first as references that I use daily, for example, the wiring rules, or maybe for cable sizing and so on. And then I switched to teaching about the many lighting standards both in New Zealand and worldwide. So I've used a lot of standards. And more recently, I've had the opportunity to work on standards committees, both locally and internationally. Through my work, I've really learned to appreciate standards. They're brilliant at guiding us through some tricky situations, but they sometimes have faults. There are bits and pieces that are perhaps ambiguous or hard to understand, or they don't follow the latest innovations or practices. Being part of a standards committee means you can share your knowledge and influence the direction of the standards. You can make a real difference in making sure that everything makes good sense and follows best practice. And the awesome thing is that you're part of a group of experts, so you also gain knowledge as well. You'll be networking with and learning from the very best in the industry. You'll meet local experts and may be involved in international committees with international experts. So you can learn from global researchers and take in the state of the art in your field. And that's a great way to put yourself and New Zealand on the map. After all, there are lots of world maps that could really do with a New Zealand upgrade. You can contribute in many different ways using your knowledge and innovation, or maybe electrical safety, or maybe quality. A simple example I can give is about the old calculations that were in an energy efficiency standard for lighting. Through my teaching, I knew that students struggled to understand how to apply that standard. So when I was given the opportunity to revise the standard, I jumped at the chance. Initially, the idea of changing those calculations wasn't in the terms of reference for the committee, but everyone agreed that changes were needed. And now, as I teach those calculations these days, I think back to the meetings where we discussed that work. It gives me an enormous amount of satisfaction knowing that I wrote that part of the standard. Every member of a committee brings their own perspectives on a topic. It's not helpful to have only academics or only industry representatives. Also, a mix of young and old are needed as we see things in different ways. Everyone has something to share. Of course, committees need to have meetings, and the number of meetings depends on the standard. So, does that mean you have to spend a lot of time traveling? Well, I showed you this picture at the start of my presentation. You can see that I'm giving an in-person talk. And that's how standards committees used to work too. Everything was face to face. In fact, one time I couldn't be there in person and I had to spend all day listening to a phone call and trying to work out who was speaking, which was really hard work. Of course, these days, most of my teaching is like this. It's online, and that's what standards committees are like too. You can participate from anywhere. But if you want to travel, there are many opportunities to attend worldwide in-person meetings. So how can you get involved? It's a really easy process. First of all, you need to submit your name to the IEC National Committee Secretary. Of course, that's Camilla, who's at the meetings today. You'll be asked to fill in an application form. Then your application will be endorsed by the IEC National Committee before being approved by the Standards Approval Board. Okay, so maybe you've got too much on your plate at the moment and it isn't the right time to join a committee. you can still be involved. I subscribe to the Standards New Zealand email updates. That keeps me in the loop and alerts me of new standards, but also standards that have gone out for public consultation. So I have an opportunity to provide feedback, which is another great way to contribute. So that's all from me. Thanks so much for listening, and I invite you to make a difference.